Hi, my name is Khushbu Rao. I'm a 2021 batch engineer from LNM-IIT Jaipur. I scored a 99.73 percentile in CAT 2021 and I have joined IIM Ahmedabad to pursue my MBA. I developed an interest in management and operations during my undergraduation, so I decided to take the most logical step, which was to do an MBA. My first attempt at CAT was in my final year of engineering, but it wasn't very well planned, so I ended up at a 96 percentile. By this time, I was already placed in ZS Associates, so I decided to join in there and prepare for CAT again in parallel. So by the time my semester-long internship got over and I decided to resume my CAT preparation, it was nearing June end already. But this time I was already aware of my weaknesses and strengths. Contrary to popular belief about engineers, my pain point was actually quant, which was apparent even in my first attempt, whereas I was quite comfortable with VARC. So for the initial 1.5 months, I did not attempt any mocks. I just focused on concept building in quant by watching topic-wise video lectures and then practicing questions from an institute's material that I had. My only strategy in quant was to stay very realistic with my targets. It was my weakest section, so I wasn't looking to solve all the questions. There are a few high-effort, low-return topics in quant like number system and permutation and combination, which are not very frequently asked by CAT. So for these, I only covered the basics. The more intense and frequent question practice I did for the more important topics from a CAT perspective like arithmetic, algebra and geometry. When I started giving mocks, I realized that my scores in quant were improving consistently, but my DILR scores were very volatile. I remember scoring as low as 40-50 percentile for 2 consecutive mocks. This is when I realized that I cannot continue to ignore this section anymore.
कौन है ये जिसने दोबारा मुड़ के मुझे नहीं देखा?
I based my preparation in DILR around question practice. I gave a lot of sectionals for DILR, and there are also some YouTube channels which have really good playlists for DILR question practice, so I took help from those as well. In VARC, I just forced myself to read the newspaper on a regular basis every morning. Then I think in the final month, I tried and attempted a lot of strategies while giving sectionals, and in the end, what worked out the best for me was attempting BA in the first 10 minutes followed by RCs. But again, this can vary from person to person and you should find out what works the best for you. So the weekends I kept for mock practice and revision. Whereas on the weekdays, in the morning before going to work, I would pick up some new topics and practice questions. My job was also very demanding in the terms of the time and effort required. So I knew it that at least in the month of November, I would need some mind space to declutter. So I applied for a 3-week leave well in advance. It was during this time actually that I got the chance to fine-tune my strategies, see what worked for me, what did not work for me. And my mock scores started improving consistently because I was able to focus on the exam and actually apply everything that I had learned in the previous months. In this 3 weeks alone, I attempted over 12 mocks. According to me, the most important part of the CAT preparation journey is mock analysis. So I attempted around 20 full-length mocks and 30 to 35 sectionals. And while my number of mocks was on the lower side, I paid a lot of attention on the analysis part. So I would sit with a DILR set for hours and then try to attempt it myself before actually looking at the solution. The reason being because while we look at somebody else solve a question, it always looks easier. So it is very important to struggle with it first and then exhaust all your options before looking at the solution. And then while I would look at the solutions, the video solutions, I would try to compare the examiner's strategy with mine and where I went wrong. I also paid a lot of attention on questions in the easy to medium category. So I made sure that if a question belongs to the easy or medium category, I am able to identify it in the exam, attempt it in the first 2 to 3 minutes, and then make no mistakes. So these questions actually help me identify if I'm getting rusty in some topic or some section needs revision. My focus on the easy or medium category questions actually helped me maximize my score during the final exam as well. So the final CAT examination was in the last week of November. And this is when it starts to get a little chilly in North India, and somehow I caught a common cold just a few days before the examination. So when I reached the examination center, I had the morning slot and I was coughing a little. I had a temperature, so they made me sit in a separate room, but I wasn't too worried about that. The VARC section was pretty balanced. The RCs were a little tricky, but the VA section was easier. So in the mocks, I was usually attempting 3 out of 4 RCs, but on the final examination day, I could only attempt 2. But I knew that I could still cross the 99 percentile mark. DILR section, on the other hand, was a shocker for me. There were only 4 sets to pick from, and they didn't look very familiar. So I panicked, and as a result, I was not able to finish the first 2 sets that I started. This is when I consciously tried to calm myself down because I at least had to cross the section cutoff. There was one easy DI set that I attempted and was able to finish. And I think I got some confidence from that. So in the last few minutes, I was also able to finish another set that I had initially attempted. The QA section was arithmetic heavy, so I knew what I had to do. And I was very comfortably able to cross my target question number there. So surprisingly, in the end, the section that I despised the most turned out to be the one I was most happy with in the end. So while we all might have some strategies in mind before we step into the examination, it is very important to stay flexible because the number of questions, the difficulty level across sections, the timings, everything keeps changing in this exam year after year. So keeping an open mind is the key. I was really surprised to see my percentile because I had never crossed the 99.5 mark in any of my mocks. It is very important to realize that a difficult section is difficult for all. Even a below average performance, which was DILR in my case, can land you a decent percentile. So don't let that affect your performance in the other sections. My final advice to the aspirants would be to stay realistic in your targets. While it's important to stay ambitious, your efforts might take some time to reflect in your mock scores. Even on the difficult days, please remember to be kind to yourself because burnout and lack of motivation often lead to people giving up altogether. It is very important to remember why you started. I had this picture of the Louis Khan Plaza on my vision board for an entire year. But I was never confident that I had it in me to make it. But I am here. Just stay positive and all the very best.